Hello all you happy lost souls, just a real quick update video. So I carefully cleaned those two pieces of pottery that I found on my last little trip out there that I posted a video on recently. I apologize again. The video quality is all weird because the application I'm using inadvertently puts a default effect on the video, so I'm going to repost that without all the blur and you know crazy, jerking action of the camera there to get you a better perspective. But anyways, it's very hard to see when it's dry, but into the light, this actually is slipped with Mayan blue. It's very, very light, the pigment still. I have some enhanced video photos that I'll post up with this video. But what was astonishing after I cleaned it, if you look closely, there's what I believe to be a few drops of hemoglobin or oxidized blood on the inside of this Mayan blue slipped ancient stoneware. Now what's more interesting is I said I noticed some Mayan blue spots on the outside of these pieces as well, and you can see they'll reflect almost. You see that little droplet right there? There's one there. There's a bigger droplet there, another droplet there. And I really hope it didn't get washed off of this one. They all in this piece. No, yes, and here this other spot down here is almost a partial fingerprint of Mayan blue droplets. And this squiggle thing, which I thought before was washed, was some hieroglyphics, which would have been awesome, or some writing. You got to be careful because actually if we flip this over, see that outline right there? Almost looks like a snake. If we flip it over, we have this same etching transposed on the other side. What that actually is a leaf was laying over top of the lip of this jar. It was laying for hundreds and hundreds of years, and it laid just perfect that leaf decomposed and rotted away while it was wet, and it etched this white line into this limestone based stoneware. And we can sort of get a good idea maybe of the dating a little bit because this is slipped inside with that blue, that Mayan blue that is now, pigment is fading out and greenish and grayish. But it is not glazed. This is slipped but not glazed, so it's like semi-permanent type vessel. So we know that pottery, that glazing, that hard enamel for reusing liquids in the pottery so it doesn't absorb into this stoneware, that technology just wasn't there quite yet. But it's more advanced than super primitive pottery from, let's say, the later Paleo woodland type period. This is probably right around the time during the rise of Gahota, during the height of the Mayan expansion, and would make sense with a lot of these quarry sites and the silver working lineage, or pewter to be more Indian pewter to be more specific, the Susquehannocks, which were associated with these lost silver mines. But these are cast off droplets, and I hate to say it, of either a priest that was handling this vessel or of the actual sacrifices, the Mayan blue paint and pigment dripping off of that person. Who knows, maybe they, it's like an organ jar where the heart was put in. I have no idea. But with this other Mayan blue pottery that has been found, this is later, because this is actually glazed on the inside with salt glaze. A much more modern technique. Now, the Mayans funerary type pottery and stuff like that was enameled, and that's what you might be seeing here. But anyway, we can definitely say that this Susquehannock group that moved in, that was described to have an Iroquois language, but not be in the Iroquois Federation and actually disdain the other tribes. Very warlike, advanced metal workers, tall, had weird practices with either circumcision or castration. Warlike group that was amazing in their crafting skills and their artisanry of metals and things like that, more so than other tribes. I'm not going to sit here and say that Native Americans didn't work with metal or knew nothing about metal. I'm not taking some ignorant stance on it. I'm just saying the Lenape, the Delaware tribes did not work with metals at that time period. The Great Lake tribes did thousands of copper artifacts, and down into Cohota, which is Great Lakes copper, but that was mostly cold hammered. It wasn't like a processed, ore like silver tends to be. Now the Mayans, oddly enough, did a whole lot of work with silver and gold, and maybe these skills were passed on through this lineage of Susquehannock, which when Cohota fell and these vast city groups broke apart, possibly this group met up with a group of Iroquois, formed their own clan sometime right around 600 to 1000 AD, when the Susquehannocks clan formed and rose up right around the time Cohota fell, oddly enough. So it says the DNA, but I just wanted to fill you guys in on that crazy find from the walk the other day and post an update after cleaning it. Now, I just used a light solution of Dawn, warm water, a little bit of peroxide, a little tiny bit of rubbing alcohol for sanitation, and I just lightly turned on an automatic like toothbrush type deal, and I just lightly went around the whole thing. Mainly to get a lot of the moss and a lot of the dirt off so I could see the actual pigment if there was any left. And I could tell the inside was slipped but not glazed. So this was painted or slipped with the pigment while the clay was wet, and then it was fired, locking that Mayan blue in on the inside. Oddly enough, like they painted their sacrifices blue. And there's this other relation to the painted people, because the Dowry people from, the North and South Carolina type tribes were, I think that name means painted people. And the Celts and Picts, they painted themselves bright blue when they went into battle. Very similar color to that Mayan blue. So who knows if there's a relation between those two, if those two groups were trading. And maybe what you're seeing here is a mixture of these Celtic or Proto-Celtic controlled areas, but their knowledge coming together with these groups that were ostensibly tied to Mayans, either raider groups finding sacrifices, slaves, or raider groups looking for resources. And we do know there's a vast group during that Meso period using these pennypack quarry sites and mining sites. They're much older than woodland paleo. There's this lineage of quarrying and mining, and it's because of the crazy unique geology and all the different stone resources, which were the first thing exploited, and then the metals were exploited there on after that. And some group came in and was doing metal processing, as I said, because of the tools we found. So now you're seeing these weird theories that I posted kind of coming to light, because they're not weird theories. They're theories proposed based on the bits of evidence you gather and the vast amount of information that one piece of pottery can give you. Now, these are just best guesses. I'm not, I was trained in stone tools, identifying time periods. I was trained in anthropology, ancient humanity, the record of all of that. I was trained in basic field work for archaeology, not a pottery expert. I know what I know based on style, design, material, what technology came in, what's modern, what's porcelain, what's stoneware, what's clay, what's just pottery. And clay pottery, which is even older, you don't find very much of that because if it gets wet, it just turns back into mud. If it wasn't fired, if it wasn't kiln fired and baked and transformed into from clay into pottery, then you just have dry mud essentially that will melt away. And you see this thicker, heavier style. Now, we can kind of guess the shape of the overall pot itself came down kind of like stumpy, like a beaker almost vessel, and the top was octagonal. Now, why that's very important, I don't see a lot of other examples of octagons, but the mound sites near Serpent Mound, Mound City, I believe the one's in a golf course now in Ohio, but at least it's preserved. These sites are so worshiping the sacred geometry or geometrical shapes, and the biggest mound that is worshipped is the octagonal complex that's there. Octagon in a circle. Anyways, please subscribe if you haven't or don't. I love y'all. Stay safe out there.